Dear students, I know this is a very tough time for all of you. So I thought why not design some brief small tutorials strictly based upon CBSE syllabi for class 10th, encouraging a lot of NCERT knowledge to be covered so that you find time to go through these tutorials just like we would in a classroom and cover some topics of biology under the subject of science. So right in front of you, I have the course structure of class 10th as simply downloaded from the CBSE website. This is for 2020-21 and we see that there are a total of 5 units. 80 marks are reserved for your written examination and 20 marks are reserved for the internal assessment. So we have the world of living and natural resources, the two units under which the biology chapters will be distributed. And as you can very clearly see, we are going to start with the first chapter today, which is life processes. So basically, how do you differentiate between a living object, a living organism, and you can differentiate it from a non-living object, so inanimate object. And what are the life processes which are essential for the survival, maintenance, growth, and repair for all the living organisms, whether it is the different types: nutrition, respiration, transport, and excretion in plants and animals. And of course, a few microbes have also been discussed in the same context. So I'm just going to show you this NCERT PDF, which is easily available on the NCERT website. So in case you don't have your books at the moment and you want to start with the curriculum at home, just take the help of a good internet connection, a laptop and a cell phone, and you can spare some time and utilize your internet connection for such good academic learning as well. And right now in front of you, you find a self-designed module by me. Over here I have mentioned, so this is the link, the NCERT link to the entire chapter, life processes for biology, class 10. So this is usually the first chapter that we start our class 10 biology syllabi with. So if you go through the first page of the NCERT, I have streamlined it in the form of some points in my module, which I would like to share with you. So the first concept is, how do you decide whether something has life, whether something has, life and it is alive and it is a living organism, and how do you differentiate it from an inanimate object? Well, for that, we must focus on the special characteristics, the unique characteristics living organisms show. So in front of you, you find the first living characteristic, which is movement. So movements can be of many types. Whether the living organism shows movement which is visible to the naked eye, it can move its body parts. In the case of animals, locomotion as well, that there is a change in position without any external interference. The cell or the animal can move their body from one point to another, or even if the plant is sessile or fixed at a place, it can move its plant parts, right? But sometimes movements are not visible to us. For example, movement of the molecules. So if you have ever, observed living organisms under the microscope, within the cell, or from your previous class 9th, if you recall cell as the unit of life, the chapter that you did, you know that cells are made up of cell organelles, and they are all made up of living molecules like carbohydrates, proteins, fats, and nucleic acids. Well, these molecules show a lot of movement too, maybe across the cell membrane, maybe across the cell cytoplasm. So, movement is the first unique characteristic, right? And the second is that these living organisms, whether made up of a single cell or multiple cells, can repair and maintain their cellular structures. In case of an injury, in case of a damage, in case of any interference, the cells have the ability to gain back a sense of balance. The cells can repair themselves. And repair would mean that the cells can utilize food material, break down big molecules to release energy in the form of ATP. Do you recall adenosine triphosphate? the universal energy currency. So, third important characteristic is that living organisms perform life processes, which brings us to the fact, what are life processes? So this is a new term. So life processes are a group of biological phenomena, processes, which help to maintain and repair a living organism's survival. They are absolutely essential for survival. So if you have got the types that I have discussed in the syllabi previously, very slyly, I'm going to just turn on to the flow chart over here, the various kinds of, NCERT mentioned life processes, and you find digestion, or well, a better word over here would be nutrition. So all the life processes by which an organism attains and achieves its food resources, that is nutrition. Respiration, that energy-rich molecules are broken down to release energy, whether in the presence of oxygen or in the absence of oxygen or the lack of it. That is respiration. Circulation and transport, that food materials, waste materials, gases, different things need to be transported to different parts of the body. For that, there must be some system, that is circulation and transportation. And excretion, the unwanted toxic waste materials need to be thrown out of the body, that is excretion. If you have noticed, I'm going to add an advanced concept over here. Reproduction has not been mentioned as a life process. So in the next tutorial, I will be discussing why reproduction has not been included, but you are free to comment down and tell me why reproduction is not considered a life process over here. Well, the hint is, has something to do with the definition of life processes. So I'm marking the definition for you. This should ring a bell, and this should be a big hint for all of you why reproduction has not been categorized as a life process. And of course, so the last character is that living organisms, they possess metabolism and homeostasis. So metabolism is a term in which you include all the chemical reactions taking place in a cell. The cell should be a part of the organism's body. So just let's say I culture or grow some cells in a test tube or in a petri dish, or for your understanding in lab conditions. And if I now compare that, even these cells are having some chemical reactions going on, some hydrolytic reactions, some redox reactions, does that mean that that is metabolism? Well, no. Metabolism strictly entails the reactions taking place in a living cell, and the cell is the part of the organism's body. So in vivo, within the body of a living organism. Of course, metabolism, the chemical reactions are essentially of two types. They are catabolic or anabolic, which means if a big molecule, a molecule of big size and molecular weight and density is broken down to smaller molecules to release energy, that is the breakdown or the catabolic reaction. And anabolism would mean that several small units or small molecules come together to form a bigger molecule. This requires energy, and this is an anabolic reaction. So how do you memorize that? A for anabolic, A for addition. So this is a type of, you can compare it to be, a kind of an add-on reaction. So, and what is homeostasis? Homeo means like, same, with very less changes. And stasis means stable. So this is the state of internal balance, that within a living cell, within a living system made up of a single or many cells, there is a steady state of physical and chemical reactions and conditions. So, if living organisms exhibit the above characteristics like movement, repair, maintenance, life processes, metabolism, and homeostasis, well, how do you think they are different from an inanimate object? Imagine this. You have, I'm sure, some table in your home. So one fine day, you measure the table and the length of the table is 2 meters. After a week or a few days, do you think the table will on its own become double in its length and become 4 meters? So what I'm trying to tell you is when living organisms grow, they show life processes. They have a lot of chemical reactions going on within their cells, which help in the development of these life processes and cell structures. So all you have to do is compare what a non-living inanimate object would lack as compared to a living organism. So the next part is life processes, the types and definitions. Well, this is already discussed. Now, what is nutrition? Nutrition is the first life process. And what does the NCERT tell us? So I'm sure you will now go through this first page of the textbook, and this should give you, a lot of clarity about all the terms and definitions that I have already discussed with you. And these chemical reactions that are going on, sometimes these chemical reactions are catalyzed or mediated by some special protein molecules called enzymes. And well, that will be covered in the next part of the chapter as well. Enzymes are biological catalysts. So a catalyst is something which can speed up the rate of a chemical reaction. So in order to become more efficient, we have a number of biocatalysts or enzymes, which are basically a type of protein molecules operating in our cells as well. So these enzymes are also a part of metabolism of the living cells. So what are life processes? What does the NCERT tell us? So the processes which together perform this maintenance job are the life processes. And of course, maintenance and repair ensure survival, right? And why do you require maintenance processes? To prevent damage, breakdown. You require energy, as for example, any vehicle would require some fuel to run. Similarly, cells will require some form of energy. So these life processes are involved in creation of that energy as well. So how do you obtain the raw material? So for this generation and creation of energy, the organism should procure or get some raw material from its surroundings. This process is called nutrition. Likewise, all the life processes are very generally discussed on the second page of the NCERT text. Please go through them. Their definitions are over here. And I'm sure that you will be solving these 4 questions, which are very important now when you go through this amount of text. So very quickly, I'll just take you through the next life process definition given in your NCERT, which is that nutrition is the process by which the organism is obtaining food or raw material, the source of energy from the surroundings, whether the organism creates its own food or whether it is dependent upon other organisms for this food or raw material. That gives us the different modes or types of nutrition, which we will be discussing in the next tutorial, because the next tutorial will be centric around the first life process, which is nutrition. And what is in this raw material? These are carbon sources. So this is very important. So these are the very important NCERT keywords which a student of a board class must focus on. So these are rich in carbon. They are carbon sources. So now imagine, what kind of carbon sources do you have? You have carbohydrates or sugars, proteins, fats or lipids, nucleic acids, or all these 4 biomolecules have carbon. So, of course, but how does the organism generate energy from these food resources that it has obtained? So for this, the organism needs to break down or build up the body, right, to get the source of energy, to ensure that this energy ensures or guarantees movement of molecules, movement of the body parts, help in So you were discussing the second life process, which is respiration, and how does NCERT define respiration? That living organisms, individual organisms, they need to break down this carbon source raw material, or what we call as food, to release energy, energy which will empower molecular movements, maintain living structures, and as well as form other kind of molecules. So this will require some energy reactions, essentially oxidizing and reducing reactions. They are the most common. So, it can be abbreviated. So, red from reducing and ox from oxidizing becomes redox. So, this is your assignment. Why don't you get us the definition of oxidizing and reducing reactions? And of course, a combination of the oxidizing and reducing reactions are called the redox reactions, which are essential to create ATP by breakdown of the molecules. And this process may happen in the presence of oxygen, in the absence of oxygen, or the lack of it. And this has been called respiration. So most of the times students ignore the NCERT terminology. The lines of the textbook are very essential. Trust me, everything is given in the textbook. It is about reading in between the lines. That is literally what is happening over here. And when we talk of a single-celled organism like amoeba or paramecium, the single cell has to undergo all the life processes. The single cell has to, perform nutrition, respiration, excretion, circulation, and despite it not being a life process, but reproduction as well. So, as compared to the unicellular organisms, the multicellular organisms are more complex. So they are made up of a number of cells, and those cells have organized themselves into a number of tissues, tissue systems, organs, organ systems, and finally the organism. So this is a very complex body design. In this case, every cell of the organism's body, of a multicellular organism's body, may not be in direct contact with the surroundings. So because of that, the simple process of diffusion, that is movement of gas, movement of particles from a high concentration to a low concentration across a gradient, this may not happen because not all cells are in direct contact with the surroundings. But in a unicellular organism, respiration is happening by simple direct contact. This is diffusion. So, don't you think that these marked lines make up for a very good 1-mark NCERT question? In fact, later on in the box, we will find a question where the NCERT lines are directly the answer. So this is another trick that you will learn in my YouTube tutorial, how sometimes the entire NCERT line is picked up as a question. Well, and students who are not thorough with the text, they end up losing marks. So the next life process that we are concerned with is circulation and transportation. So a lot of specialized tissues are involved in carrying gases, molecules, and products from one part of the body to the other parts of the body where they are required. They bring them in circulation. So there is an entire system meant for transportation of the food materials, waste materials, and gases within an organism's body. And this entire process, this entire transport system is under the life process, circulation. And of course, because of these redox reactions, metabolic reactions, a lot of waste material is going to be generated. And of course, we know that if waste materials are not removed from a healthy environment, they start damaging the cell or the organism in that case. So we need an entire mechanism of the removal of these waste products. Later on, you'll find out that these are the nitrogenous waste products. They can be of different categories and types, which are very harmful. They are toxic, they are poisonous, they need to be eliminated. They need to be removed from the cell or the cells. So the life process which helps in the removal of waste products, this is called excretion. Again, look, I have marked the NCERT line for you all to go through. So all the 4 essential life processes have been defined in your NCERT textbook. And now look at the 4 questions. I am sure that you will be noting them down right now by pausing the video. And once you have downloaded this NCERT PDF, you will be finding out some loose sheets or bio registers and you just start writing them down. So written practice is very essential, students. And I'm going to end this video with a very interesting video within a video. So remember I told you that unicellular organisms, that the entire body of the organism is just composed of one single cell, like amoeba. Well, they also undergo all the life processes and the single cell is doing. I just wanted to share with you how a unicellular organism like amoeba procures its food or does nutrition, right? So this is a video I'm going to play with you for you, and I hope it's visible. So I will just take it back a little bit for clarity. You will see a food particle in approaching the amoeba, and amoeba is asymmetric, we know that already, and how the amoeba will attract the food particle towards itself. Then it will throw its false feet or the pseudopodia and engulf the food particle. So you see very clearly how this amoeba is throwing its false feet and pseudopodia, and almost it encloses the food particle, which may be another organism for that matter. And now this is a food vacuole. And then within this food vacuole, a lot of digestive enzymes, remember enzymes, biological catalysts, they will be secreted. And this food particle or whatever organism it is will be completely broken down to simpler substances and consumed by the amoeba. And we will find a diagram for the same in the NCERT textbook as well. So, well, this is my first YouTube video for you all, and we are going to start with the next life process, which is nutrition, in the coming tutorial. If there were some background voices, please ignore, I apologize. It's very difficult to find complete silence in the times of quarantine. So students, be cheerful, do some good physical and mental activities, stay motivated, and make a good timetable for yourself. If we teachers can find ways of remaining connected to you, I'm sure you can reciprocate by working very hard. So I'm going to end this session and see you all after 2 days. Take care, everyone.